Clavicular has taken the world by storm. It's been an really inspiring and funny journey to see him, ascend the way he has. No pun intended. But it's been really funny too to see everyone's reaction to him, because I've been watching his streams for a long time. Obviously, over there on Kick. Follow me on Kick too. Kick.com/Agostino I'm streaming on there right now. Big up everybody watching via Kick. Get a sub. Make sure you subscribe over there on Kick as well. Don't be fucking lame. Subscribe on Kick. Become a member on YouTube too. So subscribe and support everywhere. What I really love about it is everyone's reaction to him. It's been so fucking... it's been so over the top, I think. It's not really... it's not really that deep. It really isn't that deep. He's into looks maxing. He wants to ascend. He thinks, especially looks maxers in general, from what I've seen on looksmaxing.org, from what I've seen on a Discord, looks maxers are generally quite black pilled anyway. So they have a very bleak outlook on the world. They essentially think the only way to really get anywhere in life is to care more about your looks than anything else. Looks are going to really take you places. And in part, that also involves kind of like getting money. That also involves designing or making your life in a certain way that allows you to have the best possible looks. That also maybe partly involves girls, but not really. The girls thing is kind of more... That's the only thing that's a bit... I disconnect a little bit with looks maxers. There is not that real... Like, a lot of them feel like they just want to be bachelors forever. Which I think is kind of tiring. I think people in general are tiring. The last thing I want to do is to be a bachelor forever, But I think some of these guys don't have a goal in the end of like, okay, where do you want to be? Do you actually want to settle down with somebody or not? So whatever. But that's essentially what it is. It's just a whole bunch of guys or kids, especially teenagers, who are really trying to, fix their, physical appearance. And they're really obsessed with it because they feel like that's the only way that they're going to actually make it in life. And one of those guys has kind of, burst from it and kind of blown up. But it's not really that deep, I understand the whole Nazi song in the fucking Miami club was probably a bit tasteless and whatever else it may be. But again, it's not really that deep. It's not really that deep. But people are responding very negatively and very angrily to a lot of the press and a lot of the quote-unquote platforming that Clavicular has been getting, which I don't think makes any sense because, this is what happens in social media, isn't it? When somebody becomes viral, everyone wants a bit of them because you want a bit of their attention. You want a bit of their crowd. You want a bit of their clout. You want a bit of their engagement. That's all it is. This is not GQ, because the people are really so upset that GQ made this article on Clavicular. This is not Clavicular. It's not GQ endorsing him or anything. They're just reporting on somebody that's making noise in the public sector, in mainstream. Same happened to Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, he's got this court case in Romania over his head. He's charged with. He's involved in some very dicey, dark stuff. But you'd be an absolute idiot if you ran a broadcasting company. You'd be an absolute idiot if you owned a magazine, a newspaper, a blog, and you didn't cover Andrew Tate when he was going through what he was going through. You'd be an idiot not to. Because obviously he's infamous, he's famous as well. You want to get those clicks on your fucking page. Why wouldn't you? So them interviewing Clavicular, I don't think is them endorsing what he has to say or being okay that he sung the song or whatever nonsense. It's just them reporting on somebody that's gone viral. I think this particular report or this particular kind of cover story, whatever, or this particular kind of day in the life, whatever this feature, or whatever they did on GQ, is really good because they covered him when he went to the Elena Velez runway show. So Clavicular made his runway debut on the runway for Elena Velez, who is a New York-based fashion designer who's very kind of tapped into online stuff. She's featured Red Scare as models on her runway. She's had VTSS, the DJ, on her runway. She's kind of tapped into online culture and whatever else it may be, right? So it was no surprise that she would get him on, especially because her show, that Elena Velez show that she did recently in New York Fashion, I think the theme around it was body modification, plastic surgery, looks maxing, vanity. That was the whole theme. So there's no better way to kind of, symbolize that theme than to have Clavicular be one of the stars of the runway and have him be the last person closing the show, which is kind of awesome. A real genius move. And she let him keep the mic. That was a really clever move too. A very clever styling thing. He has his, what streamers have, a little kind of clip on mic. She let him keep the mic and hold the phone in his hand with the chat and shit. Anyway, let's read the article. This is courtesy of GQ. They profiled Clavicular. The pictures are really good, by the way. I like the pictures. I remember seeing the person with the pictures on the stream. I think was it a girl or a guy? I forgot which one it was, but it said inside Clavicular's firsty tour of New York City. It's by Kieran Press Reynolds, and photography is by a person called Taryin Siegel. Brandon Peters Braden Peters was a normal kid once. For the most part, his childhood was probably the same as anyone else. He tells me there's not a lot of deviation between 5-year-olds, you know. He grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey, with a businessman father and a mother who used to be a bodybuilder. He had a little sister. There was a dog. His family would would often go skiing every summer and visit Cape Cod in Massachusetts and hang around the beach. But Peters was a hyperfixator. When he was hooked on something, he committed. He liked Nerf guns, so he bought a ton of them. He was briefly into politics. His family had a home gym and he started working out. Soon he was watching rich piano videos on YouTube, digging into more plates, more dates and bodybuilding forums, and looking up posts about shoulder blades and shoulder width ratios. Then he found looksmax.org, the website that changed everything. In the last few months, Braden Peters has stopped being Braden Peters. He has evolved into a supernatural creature known only his online handle, Clavicular. Named after the clavicle, also known as a collarbone, Clavicular has become the face of Looksmaxing community and a cohort of painfully online young men who obsess over physical self-improvement and hope that it will improve their dating odds. Clavicular took further than anyone else. He claims to have smashed his face with a hammer to make bones regrow sharper, smoked meth to curb his appetite, and performed dick-ups by placing weights on his penis to maximize girth and erection size. At the age of 14, he said he began injecting testosterone he ordered from the internet with no parental or medical oversight. Now his body can naturally produce it. He believes he's currently infertile. So, and I love how he believes he's infertile and never gets tested, by the way. He just busts into girls and hopes it, you know, and prays for the best. But I think all that stuff makes sense, right? Even the bone smashing thing, I think is the reaction to the bone smashing, I think, is overdone, personally, because that's true. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows if you crack a bone, you fracture a bone, when it heals up, it grows back stronger. So technically, like, that's why most MMA fighters, boxers have pretty sharp, you know, cheekbones or facial structures anyway. Yes, obviously they work out a lot, but mostly because of that repeated blows to the face. It kind of changes the skeletal structure of your face. All of those little micro fractures healing. So I'm surprised everyone was so shocked about the bone smashing thing. Like, how bad that. It's like, brother, like, come on. He also mastered clip farming, a strategy to do such unhinged things on live stream that they get clipped and go viral on social media. In his Truman Show-esque daily streams, he gleefully says slurs, brutally eviscerates women's looks, and just before Christmas he appeared to hit a guy with a Cybertruck while streaming and driving, and said on camera that he hoped the guy had been killed. No charges were filed. In January, he popped out of the Miami club with the Avengers of far-right dorks. The writer's going crazy on him. This is a bit of a hit piece. With the Avengers of far-right dorks dance to Ye's Heil Hitler. By the way, that's the way he getting away with that Cybertruck hit was fucking brilliant. I'm not gonna lie. Getting away with running over somebody on with your Cybertruck and saying on camera, "I hope they died." Genius. These are really nice pictures though. I really like the pictures. The grainy film camera pictures of him backstage at the fashion shows awesome. If you watch the stream as well, him of New Fashion Week, it's really enlightening to see how ghetto fashion shows are. I don't know, for lack of a better term, to see how ghetto and dirty and non-glamorous fashion show. Maybe Elena Velez's one was the exception, but it was very eye-opening. I didn't really know how behind the, you know, backstage, behind the scenes, there was just so much chaos going around, but very, very organized though. Everyone kind of knew where they were, hair and makeup in one place, runway stuff, like everything was all over the place. Very, very chaotic. But these pictures perfectly capture all of it, I'm not gonna lie. Over the last few months, he's been called everything from a great performance artist alive to mentally ill meth addict, and compared to a picaresque novel protagonist who bounces from one thing to another without suffering any real consequences or learning anything from his experience. He's gone from New Jersey nobody to Miami frat boy to suddenly the toast of the reactionary downtown scene. Last week was his peak. His Manhattan debut, which included surprisingly a credulous New York Times profile and a glamorous runway walk and multiple Fashion Week after parties. We were backstage as the chaos unfolded. Right up until the day it happened, Clavicular's fashion debut was in doubt. He was set to walk in a show by Elena Velez, the Midwest designer known for dressing online it girls and controversial characters from the downtown Dime Square scene. But then Clavicular got arrested while live streaming at a bar in Scottsdale. And police found a fake ID along with Adderall pill and steroids. Then, just the day before his fashion show, Arizona prosecutors dropped the case due to no reasonable likelihood of a conviction. Per the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, he immediately flew to New York. So I think we're not going to see Clavicular in London, because now London Fashion Week is on right now. This week, I think, until next week. London Fashion Week is on right now. Big up Fashion Roadman and those guys who are at London Fashion Week documenting and reporting back for all of us. But we won't see him in London, but don't be surprised if you see Clavicular in Milan. To me, he looks like a D&G model, personally. He looks like he'd fit right into the D&G world. I think he'd even fit into D Squared. I think D Squared already did their show in New York. I think he'd fit well into fucking Number 21, that one brand that does loads of like online-y kind of stuff. But, you know, I don't think he'd go in London, because London, again, we're too uptight and a bit sensitive because of all his past controversies. But I wouldn't be shocked if I saw him walk during Milan Fashion Week. Don't be surprised if he pops up during Milan Fashion Week. More pictures of Clavicular there, getting some steroid shots. This is that model, right? Yeah, no model. Big up Elena Velez. Elena Velez had a lady that worked at a peptide place or something, who was actually at the show, which is a really good touch, by the way. If you do a show about looks maxing and you have a lady downstairs giving people like, you know, peptides and shit, or just giving them hydration, it's fucking cool. I love that. And they also were flirting with each other a lot. And if I'm not mistaken, again, you know what actually Clavicular's done? Clavicular's somewhat black-pilled me when it comes to women. I'm not going to lie. Clavicular's kind of black-pilled me when it comes to women, because Clavicular, whenever he goes on stream and he bumps into a girl that's got a boyfriend or a husband, they're a little bit too friendly. They're a little bit too friendly for my liking. Now, I know that's the case with most celebrities anyway, but they're a little bit too friendly. So I wonder, are these girls being too friendly for the stream, or are they being too friendly because, you know, there's always a chance if your wife or girlfriend bumps into somebody that they've got the hots for, celebrity-wise, they could get took. Maybe that's a part of it. Maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. Either way, it was a fun stream. When I find Clavicular at the fashion show when I find Clavicular at the fashion show hours before it kicks off, he's huddled in a dark leather couch next to a woman with bleached eyebrows who's injecting him with cell-preparing peptides NAD+. This is being live streamed to over 10,000 people on Kick, the less moderated rival of Twitch. Clavicular's right-hand man, Brock, stands a few feet away with a large camera, while his fellow chiseled Luxmaxer Drago, real name Loritz Eligro, sits nearby, along with their solemn security guard, a man named Joe who hails from Jamaica, Queens. The woman is educating Clavicular about the voodoo magic of vibing, vaginal dabbing, and applying pussy juice to one's pulse points to lure in men. The girls have to make sure that they have a pretty primo cunt to be getting away with that, Clavicular says. Yeah, it's a really good one, because I think, oddly enough, this girl was quite tapped into Lux Maxine, so it was a kind of a nice little interaction they were having anyway, considering most interactions that Clavicular has with girls are usually full of bimbos who, you know, whatever. But I really enjoyed that one. This is Clavicular getting his hair done. This is probably the funnest part about the stream. Clavicular was getting his hair done, and they tried to apply this wig to him, and he said no. He refused to get the wig, so they had to kind of just do his hair, which I didn't know that was allowed. I thought when you get booked as a model, you just have to take what they give you. I didn't know if you're booked as a model and you're a celebrity, you have enough clout to dictate if you're getting a wig or not. You can tell them, I'm not going to wear this. Like, he actually did really well to kind of open my eyes and like, oh yeah, no, you can demand things. You can demand things. Clavicular streams the entire pre-show process up to his fans, from fitting to hair, makeup to dress rehearsals. The show is vaguely themed around artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and surgical brutality. Models walk with bandages wrapped around their faces. One woman wears a corset with a metal frame that looks half melted by radioactive bile. Clavicular is good muse for the show, concerned with people's suicidal desire to impulse that they're beautiful, but it feels like he's mostly been brought in as a gag. An opportunity for both Elena Velez and Clavicular to produce what he describes as an infinite clip glitch, a 100-acre clip farm. His outfit is crumpled white waxed cotton shirt, so it looks like it's soaking wet, which sends the chat into hysterics. Drenched in comfort, soaked in dripping nut. It was quite funny, the fit. But yeah, I think it worked. I think everyone got what they needed to get out of it. Elena Velez got a really viral show that went all over the place, more viral than her fucking Red Scare one, let's say, even though Red Scare are really popular. Elena Velez got a lot of free press out of it. Clavicular got a lot of free press out of it. The fans got to watch him awkwardly interact with models and all that shit. That was really funny, especially nowadays, because models, you know, they're not conventionally, like you'd say, beautiful. It's all kind of left to interpretation. The more weird he look is better. And looks maxers think those people look like freaks. So it's quite cool to see all that shit, especially some of the gay guys behind the scenes, because, you know, you have to kind of adjust to that world. I think everyone got what they needed out of it. Everyone got what they needed. It wasn't really that deep, to be honest. The reaction to it has been very overblown. Negative reaction. Clavicular spent most of his pre-show making fun of the whole thing, cracking jokes about models. Am I the only dude born a dude here? Yeah, that was a great line, by the way. That was a great line. When he walked into the behind the seat, honestly, it's such a great line. Freaking out when he finds out he's supposed to wear a wig. I fucking hate this shit, he says after they slick back his hair. It's trash. He gets agitated when a Spanish influencer starts speaking Spanish in front of him. I don't like it when people speak Spanish because it's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Under the abrasive exterior, though, he's clearly geeked to be here. I liked, when I was watching the stream, I did like how the chat were basically calling him out, because he was taking it like a joke a bit, especially when it came to the walk. He was doing the runway walk rehearsals and he was just, you know, looking at his phone too much, looking down, just doing some weird ticks. And I think the stream set him straight, like, hey, this is a big opportunity, like, take this take this seriously. This lady's put her reputation on the line, she's put you here, like, do the show and put your chin up, stop looking left and right, stop looking down, like, walk, mug for real, walk for real. And he took it seriously, and his actual runway, his final show walk was actually quite decent. The rehearsal was horrible, really, really bad. So I like how he kind of listens to his chat, you know, and they hold him accountable. That was really fucking helpful. I did like that. While some reactionaries are high fashion, and runway shows are a sissy shit, the catnip for looks maxers who yearn to attain airbrush perfection. They worship male models like Jordan Barrett, Sean O'Pry, whose runway walks represent the pinnacle of guys overcoming the fallibility of the flesh. Clavicular's phone screens a picture of David Gandy, widely considered the highest grossing male model in history. I'm just here for the edits on TikTok. Yeah, that's true actually. Like, he loves David Gandy. Legendary model. I've got a lot of magazines of David Gandy. He doesn't really model as much anymore. He's got a really good architectural digest, by the way. He's got an incredible home. I reckon you check that one out. And all those kind of like early 2000 male models, the really kind of like, you know, pretty boy ones in the face and shit. He loves all that. So I think that's like the pinnacle for looks maxers to get to that sort of level with fucking, you know, with stuff that's non-surgical, stuff that's surgical, blah blah blah. I quite like it, to be fair, because I'm also a big fan of people pushing things to the limit, you know, and trying to do what they do. Yeah. Oh, so it was the girl. I'm right. It was the girl. That was the girl. That there was some small girl that was taking the pictures. Short girl that had a really big SLR looking camera. I thought it was digital, but I guess it was film. Really nice pictures, to be fair. I'm not gonna lie, really nice pictures, especially the ones without flash. I'm a big fan of taking pictures with low flash and reducing the ISO, no flash in a poorly lit room. It's really fucking good, and using the light, you know, whatever light is bouncing off from the camera to other places to kind of gather the shot. Really good, really cool idea. That. Oh, what happened there? No, wrong way. Let's go back to the article. Where is the article? Oh, where'd I put the article? There you go. Cool. Let's continue. Looks maxing descends from the 2000s pickup artist forums. True. Which had disappeared, by the way. Big up. What one I used to go to. Big up. Is it LF? Is it LCCS? Oh, I forgot what it was. But there was that other pickup artist channel that had like a coffee sign. I forgot that sign too. There's one that had like a coffee sign. You know what killed pickup artists? I think it was that Channel 4 documentary. That Channel 4 documentary on that group of English dudes. That I think killed the PUA forum, and also all of the fucking candid videos people were doing, recording girls, like, you know, when they go pick them up and take them back to the hotel. That was a little bit too excessive. That's what killed the pickup artist forums things, all the illegal recordings. But that was big, man. But a lot of that, to be fair, wasn't about looks. A lot of that was to do about like appearances. That's what peacocking was. Peacocking wasn't about skincare, wasn't about, the only thing I think they did in peacocking and looks maxing, because I remember being on those forums and stuff, the closest it got to like looks maxing was like beards. I remember they were really big on beards, like grow a beard and that sort of stuff to like help with your looks and shit. But they didn't really give a shit about physical appearance that much. If anything, the more uglier they were, and the nicer girls that they were able, the more attractive the girls they could pick up on camera, the better it did for their business, really and truly, when in the POA. Because I remember there's this one dude in the UK, in London, I forgot his name. He was a kind of fat looking dude, who used to kind of like record these videos of him going and picking up girls. I think what they're called, field reports, right? Field reports or pick up. I forgot what the name of it. No, a field report is what you write online, and I forgot what the name of it was. Was it? There was same day lay. That's if you on camera, you were recorded on camera talking to a girl, and you were able to take her back to your home and fuck and stuff. Same day lay. There was same day number. There was a cold approaches where you just go up and say something to somebody. There was obviously negging. That's where you kind of insult somebody in the hopes that it will get them to like you, which is weird, right? Insult a girl so she can like you. It's a strange fucking way to go about doing things. There was a zesty thing too. I forgot what the name. There was a zesty approach that they used to always popularize as well, about acting gay, to like have a defenses that like that. Honestly, pickup the PUA industry was very deceptive in it. It wasn't good. I'm not gonna lie. It was about getting women in your room, in your bed, by all circumstances. It didn't care how you did it. You just had to get them back there. Lie, cheat, and steal. Just get them back there. And of course, peacocking was about. If I remember, the main guy, Mystery, he was famous for wearing like big fur hats. Oh, and magic too. That's what it was on magic. That was a big thing too in PUA. That's honestly looks maxing is still kind of dorky and lame, right? Because guys in general. Looking after themselves. Like, I don't know what it is about men. Men just get. It's hard for men out here. It really is hard for men out here. It really is hard for men out here. But if you take any pride in your appearance, you really dedicate to like making yourself look good, sound good, smell good, whatever it may be. It's inherently quite lame, innit? Unfortunately, it's inherently quite lame if a man does take a lot of pride in their appearance, unless you're gay, right? Unless you're gay, it's heralded. But if you're straight, it's looked as less than. If anything, if you work out a lot and you decide to get really ripped, some people out there say that men who get really ripped do it for other guys, not for other women, which is really strange. But anyway, regardless, right? Looks maxing is still more cooler than pickup artists, because pickup artists were like pretending to have hobbies, like they'd go to a salsa class in order to meet girls. That's weird and creepy and odd, isn't it? Like they do yoga, like, to hook up with, like, it's just like, that's lame. They'd learn magic tricks. They'd wear big fur hats and stuff and have like studded wristbands and like, come on, man, bracelets, sorry, and like wear like weird shirts with like crazy slogans like "Pussy Juice is my hair conditioner," that sort of stuff. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? So at least with looks maxing, they just want to appear like, if anything. One of the criticisms I'll say about Clavicular, being a fan of his streams and being a sub on his channel, I don't think he has the best riz. His game is non-existent. His game is horrendous. His game is basically just look at my face. That's his game. Look up at me, look how tall I am, and look at my face. His game, there's not anything. There's nothing. He doesn't really he doesn't have the ability to like be charismatic or charming. It's not really there. Maybe it's part of his autism. I'm not really too sure. But that's probably the only complaint I have about looks maxing. There's no like end goal. It sounds like they just want to fuck as many girls as possible forever and ever, and they don't really have any game. It's just look at my face, look how symmetrical my face is. Let's continue. Years later, along with Clavicular, the Bone Smasher, along came Clavicular, the Bone Smasher, no, sorry, let's continue. I missed a bit. Looksmaxing.org descends from the 2000s pickup artist forums and the 2010s incel culture. In essence, it's an ecosystem. Honestly, they love calling, like, if there's a gathering of men on the internet, right, who like a certain thing, it's immediately an incel. And it's like, what is this? It's so funny. If men have interest, right, that really kind of are not really, they're not, they're just mostly interest men kind of share with other men, it's immediately an incel thing, incel coded. That term incel has been so overused, it's kind of lost this kind of like punch, because it applies to everything. Everyone's an incel. Like every guy that kind of like has a bit of a selfish, self-centered, maybe misogynistic, let's say, opinion of the world, a view of the world, let's say patriarchal, they're immediately an incel. I don't think it works that like, I don't know, whatever. In essence, it's an ecosystem of influencers, forums, and video editors and clip farmers. At the extreme end, adherents lengthen their legs by breaking their bones and undergoing bimaxillary osteomasis, double jaw surgery, and imbibe peptides that pledge to augment their brain power and suppress their appetite. In 2023, I wrote a story about the experience of softmaxing, the light version of luxmaxing, and were forced to label bone smashing as a fake trend because we couldn't find evidence that people were actually hammering their faces to induce micro tears in their bones, which then purportedly regrew in a more defined and masculine way. Years later came along Clavicular, the bone smasher who puts into practice luxmaxing techniques and seemed very like the internet rumors and the figments of luxmaxing community imagination. By the way, there was loads of pictures of this online. I don't know why they couldn't find evidence. People have been doing this for a long time. It's not like a new thing. Clavicula's not the first person to start bone smashing. People have been doing this for a long time. He couldn't get off of it. He posted so frequently that he became one of the most popular members, and even the moderators like Immoderator has spoken and become the lab rat for the community. The guy willing to risk everything to ascend, glow up. He's used the risky anabolic steroid Trenibol, which not approved for humans, just animals, and claims to have smoked meth to burn off flab. Did it feel good? Of course, it's fucking meth. Yeah, the meth addiction. I'm happy he's off the meth because the meth addiction was crazy because he was starting to look a bit cracked out. You know, he was starting to look. So I'm happy he's off the meth. His purported pill intake includes everything from beta blockers for anxiety reduction and minoxidil for hair regrowth, and melatonin 2, sunless tanning, and retrutide, with the one I talked to before, appetite suppression. After just 3 weeks at the Sacred Heart University, the school kicked him out when Luxmax users tipped them off about his habits and steroids were found in his room. At one point, he recommended that his audience try to reduce anxiety with a baclofen and muscle relaxer. In December 2024, while driving home from his job in a restaurant in Massachusetts, he crashed his car. On Luxmax forum, Clavicular wrote that it was because he fell asleep from the baclofen. No comment, his publicist says when I bring this up. Oh yeah, he's silly, Clavicular adds. How about we comment on the car crash where the driver fucked up my Sprinter? Bro, this fucking retard drives under the bridge that says 7-foot clearance. It's a fucking Sprinter. Despite everything, Clavicular is still alive. I don't think this person wants Clavicular to be alive, not gonna lie. That's a weird line to put there, isn't it? Despite everything, Clavicular is still alive. That sounds like the writer wants us to die or something. It's not that deep, man. It really isn't that deep. More than anything, he succeeded. He is conventionally attractive, with a prominent jawline and symmetrical face, although it's hard to say how much of that springs from the bone smashing and testosterone and how much of it is growing up and slimming down. Lately, he seems to have broken containment, evolving rapidly from purely online luxmaxing guy into something of a mainstream personality. The uninitiated seem to find him both amusing and terrifying. His first spotlight moment came in December when he told the Daily Wire's Michael Knowles that even though his personal politics hewed closer to JD Vance's, he would vote for Gavin Newsom in 2028 because Newsom is hotter and Vance is obese. Great line, man. Great fucking line. He's since been covered by outlets like the New York Times, The Atlantic, and a new type of guy who concerned attention must be paid to. A harbinger of the future generation of post-cancelled nihilists who would vote for Liberal if he looked like Superman. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Being a nihilist now makes sense. I would prefer to keep my optimistic, sunny disposition, right? The disposition of life and outlook of life. But considering how the world is, considering the state of the job market, considering the state of the fucking property market, considering everything out there, being nihilistic kind of makes sense. You're kind of matching your surroundings, you know? Being overly optimistic in a world and a climate we're living in now is kind of a fool's errand. It kind of makes you look kind of foolish. You kind of sound and come across low IQ if you're fucking, you know, smiling every day, jumping up and down, waving your hands like you just don't care, because life can be kind of dark. No matter where you are on the socioeconomic ladder, the world can be kind of dark. There's forces at play that are pushing us in a direction that we're not even, you know what I mean? We don't even have any say so in, you know? The world's going a particular way to have a say so in. We just have to keep on adapting and doing what we can do best. But being black-pilled, I don't think is really that crazy. You know, it really isn't. It really isn't. And then figuring out that maybe the best I can do out of life is maybe just to improve my looks, right? Because that could then help with loads of other things, you know? Who knows how much looks play into jobs? You have no, like, with the way unemployment is, who fucking knows, right? With this whole, like, fact acceptance movement we've got going on, who is to say that some jobs don't let you fucking get the job because you look a certain way? Who's to say that some fucking properties or some realtors don't sell to you, or some renters don't let you rent because you look a certain way? Who's to say you don't get approved for a loan because you don't look a certain way? So if you can get that under control, because it's in your control, right? There's not many things you can control out there, but you can control the way you look, the way people can, their first impression of you can control to a certain extent. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try to help your chances? Why wouldn't you try to ascend? You know, there's not many things you can do in this world. Like, why wouldn't you kind of dedicate entirely to that? I don't know. I would if that was me. But to anyone in the know, Clavicular was pretty clearly just saying shit. He was put on the spot, came up with a provocative answer that slots into his impossible worldview, and namely that the good looks are everything to the point that they can determine the course of history. He isn't going to vote Newsom. He probably isn't going to vote at all because he thinks politics is a waste of time. Nonetheless, the far right has eagerly claimed him as their own. While his claimed looks maxing isn't racist, his proclivity for slurs and casual misogyny, like saying women shouldn't have rights to vote, make it obvious why figures like Nick Fuentes have embraced him. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you can put that through line. I'd much rather call people racist when they're being racist. If a kid wants to be edgy and say the controversial wrong thing on the internet for shits and giggles, I'm not going to call them racist. I'm going to call people that are racist. Like Nick Fuentes is probably not going to be upset if people call him a racist because he said racist things, right? You can't be upset if people call Nick Fuentes a racist, or if he, you know what I mean? But I don't think labeling Clavicular racist is fair. I don't think labeling Looksmax as racist either is fair, because where's the evidence? Look, Clavicular's made it known that his preference is like white blonde girls, right? For the most part. Is that racist, or is that just a dating preference about what you like, what you're attracted to? I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like everything is racist because it doesn't look like a United Colors of Benetton ad. You know, that's not really true. It's not really how it should be. But hey, what do I know? Scroll down, more pictures. Look, that's a really good picture, man. Really good picture. She smashed it, the photographer. Normies have become obsessed with the lingo of looks maxing, which, yeah, that's been the worst part, by the way. That's been the worst part. The normie adoption of looks maxing lingo has been the worst thing ever. Seeing everybody using mogging or maxing in things has been fucking, or like cortisol spiking. That's been fucking nauseating to see. The lingo of the internet change overnight, you know? Which has been simmered into deep services of the web for years, incrementally adding freaky new terms and in-jokes. There is a mogging or outshining someone. There's Foyd, a code for a woman who can be christened as a Becky, a Mid, a Stacy, a Hotter, a Chad is a goat male status, or simply a jester, which is an idiot. Things that have lately leveled up into the realm of a pure parody. Clips alleging that Clavicular had been frame-mogged by ASU frat leader, the broad-shouldered fitness influencer Varys Gilaj, went viral. Joe Bernstein joked on X that prose maxing, as he wrote a New York Times clavicle on Clavicular. Andrew Tate, meanwhile, is clutching at relevancy by screaming at mogging and urging Clavicular to start a brand called Mog. While most of the discourse is cringe and come out of touch, the lexicon is so malleable and looks maxing characters so absurd that it's expanding into a funny cinematic universe. Looks maxing star Adronic, the Clavicular of Australia, is being pipped against the ASU frat leader in flyers hyping up a fictional World War Mog. Never before seen strings of words are being smashed together. Catastrophic Mog Alliance, Instant Jester Goon, Adamantium, Frame Cell, Berserker. Oh, so good, these words. Among looks maxers, Clavicular stands out because he's relatively well versed in the language of chemical antagonist and maxillary bones. He became infamous partly by critiquing bad looks maxing methods, and he's gone viral with clips surgically deconstructing the deficiencies in people's faces according to the supposedly objective standards of beauty. While straight men tend to salivate at the sight of Sydney Sweeney, Clavicular called her malformed. Yeah, that's been one of the that might be single-handedly one of the worst things to happen to Sydney Sweeney press wise. Even worse than the whole good genes controversy, right? That was completely blown out of proportion. And obviously, and that birthday that she did where people thought that her family were like Trump supporters. One of the worst thing I think has happened to the brand of Sydney Sweeney has been Clavicular breaking down that she's not actually good looking. You know? It kind of piggybacks on this meme, which I really like. I like the meme online where people will say in really hot girls comments on Instagram, they call her mid. I love that. I love when a girl posts her first trap and the guy will just write mid. Because it's so triggering. Like, even if the girl knows that she's a fucking 10, they're gonna get triggered by that. Like, so I love that fucking meme, that kind of, you know what I mean, that troll. But I think going out of the way to say Sydney Sweeney is unattractive is really, like, you know, that's silly. But I do like how he broke it down by saying that no, she just got really nice tits, but face wise she looks fucking I mean, it's like, oh, it was really funny. It was really fucking funny. I'm sure she's seen that too, which is the worst part about that, you know what I mean? But yeah, he said her upper maxilla is extremely recessed. She's got the eyes of doom with no if from orbital support, he deadpanned. Clavicular has said that he's never officially been diagnosed with autism, but he often refers to himself as autist and talks about his antisocial youth. I rotted in my room, posting on Looksmack. He said that his acquaintance at one point before the show, I used to not really be social. All the IRL streaming is performative. I don't even like going out to the club anymore. When I asked him if he had any friends as a child, he got defensive. I've been there, brother. I feel you, man. I feel you. Name me to ask a friend. Dare me to name a friend. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's so dark, and it's so fucking dark. But it continues. I don't even like going out to clubs. When I asked him if he had any friends as a child, he got defensive. I hope this is not a malicious line of questioning with you, you know, trying to make it seem questionable my growing up. It's not just that it's not just a relevant story. I told him that I read about his antisocial teenage years and the times that he would intentionally avoid talking to his family, sometimes waking up at 30 minutes earlier before school just to avoid them. I've been there, bro. I've been there. I've been there. I thought it was only me. I thought it was only me that would purposely wake up early to avoid your family, leave the house early, come back late so you don't see them, you know? Oh, I've been there. In high school, yeah, he seems, we can start there. The existence of the frame mugger in crime, Diego, at least answers the questions of whether he has any friends right now. While Clavicular's getting photos taken at the show, Drago tells me how they met 2 years ago through looksmack.org. They were among the few forum regulars brave enough to post on their actual faces, and they bonded over being doxxed. The two hung out near daily on Discord. All of our talking, Drago says, would ultimately be about looksmaxing and what we need to do to be ascend. Now, as a member of the team, he helps Clavicular maintain a near constant stream of schedule and only interrupted in the morning for breakfast. He just does butter bagel, no cream cheese. He don't hand him a fucking burger with cheese on it. He'll fucking throw that shit out. Yeah, that's one of the weirdest things. He likes eating fucking Burger King Whoppers without the cheese. I've never known somebody that eats a burger with no cheese or prefers that. I know they do exist, right? It's just a hamburger, but I've never known somebody doesn't like to have a double cheeseburger with the cheese in it. That's been one of the weirdest ones to watch. But hey, you know something new every day. Yo, big up casual and stream chat. Somebody jump creative of the. What's that? What's this? You're kind of moving dick eat with this kid though. You know it's deep. It's deep because he's morally corrupt guy who's getting looks for legacy media. They've rewarded bad behavior. Doing a rape feature, covering reporting are two different things, and you know it. Not really. I think there are a lot of people out there that are very morally corrupt, and I'm not gonna. I don't know. My entertainment and my things that I kind of get into and look at, I don't really give a fuck if you're morally corrupt. I'm not gonna lie. Are you entertaining? Are you providing good content? Yes. In our own lives, some of us are morally corrupt. I'm not gonna then chastise somebody for being quote unquote morally corrupt, and my version or my definition of morally corrupt is different to yours. But for me, content isn't that deep. It really isn't. Unfortunately for me. Maybe that's wrong, but that's the way I see things. Big up Mensa, I see you there. And big up Casual, I'm shit maxing is hilarious. And big up Mr. Studio Girl, Clav's World. To ascend, they say here, you must have descended. And the Joker arc of a lot of Looksmaxer legends begins with feeling lonely and insecure as teens. Z's, the OG internet Looksmaxer, began as a skinniest kid in school and felt like a bitch walking like next to girls. Kareem Shaheem, the friend of Clavicular, who got big with Looksmaxer videos on TikToks, told a couple told me a couple of years ago that he got into the scene after being bullied at high school for his acne and his size. For those men, looks maxing offers a dream of control, a promise that the world and the women will bend around you if only you make your jawline sharp enough. You know what's really bleak about this article? This article is trying really hard to paint looks maxers as being nihilistic, very misogynistic, world of the view, and incel coded guys. But the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. The way girls, I know a lot of these girls are young, I know a lot of these girls are maybe clout obsessed and a little bit terminally online, but the way the women respond to Clavicular when he goes into clubs, it's fucking crazy. Especially when he goes to like Miami, the Arizona one he went to recently. Insane. Fucking insane, the level of attention he gets and the ease at which girls are throwing themselves at him. And again, looks maxing is primarily obsessed with looks in the hopes of getting girls. It's not even, that's the thing about looks maxing, it's not even obsessed with looks in the hope of getting money. It's about just women, right? They're just focused on trying to fuck as many hot girls as they can. So that's the goal. You know what's also really frightening, because this article's trying to make this seem like silly. It's not silly because it works in the real world. I've seen the way girls look at Clavicular online when he goes to clubs. I know some of it's got to do with the clout, but I'm sure some of it has to do with looks as well. The other thing that's really fucking horrible, if you're this person that's writing and you're trying to paint people in a certain way, the truth of the reality, the way that men react to him is even more nauseating. The amount of male groupies that he has is crazy. Maybe I could count as one. But the amount of males that come up to Clavicular and talk about how much he's changed their lives and start sucking his dick and asking for pictures, so clearly this looks maxing thing, although it's a little bit, shallow, although it's maybe devoid of soul, it's a little bit, it can be a little bit too cold at sometimes. It is true. Improving your looks does allow you to ascend, and ascending is everything to these people. And we've seen clear evidence of it. This guy just debuted on New York Fashion Week's runway show. Most likely he'll be in Paris and Milan soon. This is proof of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably the pinnacle of looks maxers. It's not even money. The pinnacle of looks maxers is to look like a fucking professional model. And some of them are. Or they're getting that kind of opportunity that only professional models would get. So, say what you want to say, but the proof is in the pudding. It does actually work. And unfortunately, the world does burn to your needs if you look a certain way. Looks maxing offers the dream of control, a promise of the world when women will bend around you. While some of it is delusional, looks maxing has become so popular because it articulates a very basic, statistically proven truth: how hot people have it easier. Sorry. Ugh. But once you get hot, does the gnawing feeling of inner emptiness ever really go away? That's the only problem I have, though. That's what I agree with this article. There is not really a goal at the end of it. You don't really hear a lot of looks maxers talking about having kids, about having families, about getting married, about settling down, about just building a fucking foster care center. There's not much else apart from just looking at you. It's very me. There's not a lot of what's the end goal? What do you want to give back? What do you want? I don't know. What do you want to do? There's not a lot of that, which I think is a little bit, problematic, but it's a little bit, a little bit too much for me in that respect. Nice picture there again in the runway. Clavicular is the last to come strutting down a runway, which isn't actually a runway, but a kind of labyrinth in between chairs, occupied by the unlikely cast of semi-notable and strange misfits, from the host of Red Scare podcast to YouTuber Tana Mogo to artist Flo Milli. Honestly, man, they're really clutching at straws here. It wasn't actually a runway; it was a labyrinth. Man, shut up, man. This GQ writer's the hate here is just fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. After I explain Clavicular, it's imagine hate writing an article about somebody. Just don't write it. You know what I mean? I get you don't like the guy, but this you know what I mean? All these little jabs are really funny. It wasn't actually a runway. It was a labyrinth. It's okay, guy. Okay. Because all runways have to be just one vertical runway, innit? They don't, runways aren't designed in this particular way because how designers want them. That invalidates the runway, right? If it's not on a platform, if it's not up above, and the people are not sitting down below, it's not just one, you know what I mean? It's not a runway. Okay, cool. Whatever you say. After I explained Clavicular's story to a prominent magazine publisher who's seated next to me, he stares ahead blankly and says, will he still be here at 27? Down the road, Anna Delvey ankle monitor exposed, and the disgraced politician George Santos, who compliments me on the blue hair, says he's trying to get Clavicular to come on his podcast and get a pedicure with him. You know what's really funny though? I see a lot of people speculating on whether Clavicular will die, and it's not really being looked at as a bad thing. I think that's kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people are out there speculating on will he actually make it to 27. I guess mostly because of the drug use, which, you know, understandable for the I think it's what they call it now. They call it is it troll farm? Was it troll concern? Troll sympathizing? There's a term for it, right? When people are like fake have empathy for you, but they're really trying to like dig at you. So them saying, "Oh, is he gonna still be here when he's 27?" is kind of like them hoping he dies, but it's also kind of laced with the, "Oh, he's a drug addict. That's why." Do you know what I mean? He's a loser, he's a bad person. I think so. But to be fair to him, I have noticed a decrease in the amount of meth that he allegedly takes, or ketamine and whatever else. Because there'll be particular streams I remember watching where I think the one particular stream where he got kicked out of a shooting range. No, was it not shooting range? It was where the stream was where they did the fucking escape room. I think it was Halloween. They did an escape room stream, and he went to an escape room and he was doing bumps in the corner. And obviously there's CCTV in it, CCTV cameras in this escape room. And they obviously saw him doing the bumps, so they kind of banned him. And they told him to go away and to get out. And yeah, that was a bit too much. There was one other stream where one of his friends was getting super fucked on Ket, and they were falling all over the place. So I think in general, he doesn't drink that much on stream, and he also doesn't do as much drugs as before. So I think he's gonna be okay. I think it looks like he's trying to, you know, live long. Let's hope. But there's a lot of that talk online about, is he gonna still be alive? It's like, Jesus Christ, people, man. I get you don't like the guy, but come on, chill out. Clavicular walks the metallic shrapnel of a trans pioneer, Sophie's face shopping. Oh, that's a brilliant track, by the way. Is that what she played? My face is the front of shop. That's such a good song by fucking Sophie. Big up Sophie, man. R.I.P. to fucking Sophie. Sophie would have been one of the biggest pop acts of all time if she was still here. You know, she's still alive. Well, that might be one of the most tragic deaths around COVID. There's a lot of like celebrity deaths that happened during the COVID times, and that was one of the most hurtful ones, man. I hated that so bad. Yo, big up Waster, big up Waster 73. Thank you for becoming a member. Big up Waster, big up Blood Clot Waster. Thank you for becoming a member. You're a G. Let me add you to the title. Let me add you to the total. You're a legend. Big up fucking Waster for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, R.I.P. Sophie. R.I.P. Sophie. R.I.P. Sophie. You are gone, but never forgotten. Dearly missed. An absolute icon. And I think Sophie would be one of the biggest acts in dance music, electronic music, pop issues still around now. That album was just phenomenal. But yeah, Face Swapping is a great song to pick for a Looks Maxing theme fucking runway show. A deeply ambivalent exploration of pressures of a digital artifice and a self-commodification. He's followed closely by his cameraman Brock, wearing a snapback sweat and a broadcasting everything on Kick. What a queer, someone writes in the chat. Soon the show is over. It's time to kick back. We load onto Clavicular Sprinter and we head to Leban for an after party sponsored by Remilia Corporation, a crypto company whose founder spends a lot of time online complaining about how Remilia deserves to be considered one of the great art movements of the 2020s. Sometimes during the ride, Clavicular logs onto his LooksMax account and gloats on the thread. First org user to get a fashion show. He arrives. By the way, that's a pretty good claim for fame, though. That'll be similar to, like, remember back in the day we had like Crooked Tongues magazine. Back in the day I had FUK fuck.com. Yeah, imagine Crooked Tongues. If somebody on Crooked Tongues magazine ended up becoming, oh, that's true. Somebody on Crooked Tongues did actually end up being like a real bigwig on Adidas. I forgot that guy's name. Older British guy, really fucking nice as well. Very kind man. I forgot his name, but he was responsible for a lot of like archive stuff, and he became like a really bigwig in Adidas. But just imagine back in the day if somebody on Crooked Tongues ended up becoming like the brand director at Jordan Brand, or became the head of marketing at Nike, you know? Or if somebody on fuk.co.uk forum became the head of fucking, I don't know, Ralph Lauren maybe? I don't know. What's the brand everyone used to wear back then? Levi's or something? That'd be such an amazing look. So I can't imagine how crazy everyone was on looksmack.org when Clavicular became one of the first users ever on that forum to rook or runway, because they look at runway models as gods. Those are their heroes, Sean O'Pride is those guys, is Cristiano Ronaldo. They look up to models so much. So that must have been amazing. A quiet woman. He arrives thirsty for some high level hotties, but the scene inside is tragic. So he's cooling the girls in there, ugly. A quiet woman who goes to Parson hands out flimsy Remilia hats, and an older gentleman tries to coax Clavicular into promoting one of Remilia's signature plushie toys on the live stream. We're here for some bitches, but it doesn't look like there's many bitches, Clavicular says plaintively. I think we should bounce, bro. Immediately after that, the choice is made even clear when a woman who identifies herself as a manager of Laban comes up to him and demands he turn off the stream. Then says that person was a nobody then says that nobody knows who he is. That's him in the background, backstage. While Clavicular hits McDonald's, I stick around in Laban to get some crowd analysis. You should have went to McDonald's, man. This person, I would have liked to see the pictures of him eat. That would have been nice. These film pictures are really well taken. These 35mm film pictures with a flash are really well done. I would have liked to see some of the pictures of him. I think they would have looked really good in this fucking profile. But hey, I got some analysis. I really do think Clavicular is an artist with a very pure sense. Whether he's fully aware of everything, it's hard to say, says the writer Cold Healing. But I think many of his people are meant to be reinterpreted. He creates something and people are meant to quote tweet it. I mogged him with my boobs tonight off Leah Palmer, a model from the show. Clavicular has been successful because he's honest about what he wants at the time when AI seems to be threatening the American way of life, adds Miles Shaw, another model from the show who's known online as Prior Doll. I think that's true, but that's not the right point to make about AI. I think he's being somewhat popular because he's honest about the world that he's living in or that he wants to live in. And I think at large as well. Because the world for a long time has told us differently. Has told us that the fat acceptance movement was a thing, right? Look at the fat acceptance movement. It's completely dead, right? And I actually think it was quite good. I actually think there was a utility and a use of the fat acceptance movement, how it first started, in that people should there should be an inherent. Your value shouldn't be based on what you look like, right? And especially your weight. I don't think so. And you shouldn't feel less than. You shouldn't not feel beautiful because you're fat, kind of thing. I thought that was a really good message to put out there. But fat acceptance went down a bit of a weird path when they started to talk about, oh, if you're obese, it doesn't mean you're not healthy. It started to be a bit weird when it was demanding that really obese people be put on runways or be put on billboards, and you have to say that person's beautiful. That's a little bit crazy. But if you want everyone to have self-confidence, you want people to be comfortable in their own skin, despite what they look like, that's the place to go, because we all know that person that's really fat, that gets really skinny and still kind of acts like they're ugly. You have to if you don't think of yourself as beautiful, no matter what you look like in the mirror, you're not going to like what you see. You got to kind of train yourself to kind of love yourself, type of thing. So I love that message, but it got a bit too crazy. So it makes sense to me that looks maxing exists as a natural reaction. Whenever things go one way, they always have to swing back the other way in an extreme way. So it's no surprise that now you have these kids who, if anything, looks maxing is the most apolitical thing. It's it's not even, they don't really give a shit about MAGA. They think all that stuff is jester. They're not into MAGA. They're not into fucking super far left, liberal stuff. They don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's solely about looks. And to them, if you get your looks right, everything kind of the path lays out for you afterwards, which I think there's some truth to. Unfortunately, there's some truth to it. Unfortunately, there is a lot of truth to that. The night's torrent of unexpected crossovers would soon spawn more clips than I could count. Clavicular's far-right friend Nick Fuentes was elated after Clavicular ditched the party, going off to rant about how his hardcore fan base of Gropers had clinched a surgical victory against Remilia, who views it as LARPing, Rizless chuds linked to Peter Thiel's technologically surveillance Israeli backing faction of the right. This is a little reminder to Dime Square. You will never have the same level of cultural relevance and authenticity and aura as the Gropers, Fuentes gloated. But from what I could tell, Clavicular doesn't care about all of this shit. Listen, all I know is it was a fucking lame party. There was no girls. It was an old people, he sighed to me. And that's what I loved. One of the things I loved about watching Clavicular is him turning. It's him kind of like, there was a loads of like magazines at that fucking Elena Velez show, right? I think I remember hearing about 10 magazine and some other ones, and he was kind of just parring them off. Like, didn't really give a fuck. Like, never heard of you, don't care, you're probably lame. I love how he was completely dismissing Red Scare. That would be, you know, most people, myself included, would love to appear on Red Scare, right? And have an appearance on it, because that'd be a good look. And it's a podcast I like to listen to. But he really didn't give a fuck about Dasha or Anna. He was like, who's that? Do you know what I mean? He was really kind of like dismissive. So I did like seeing him in those fashion circles at the show where a lot of people are sucking dick, a lot of people are licking ass, beg friending, acting as if like all these people are beneath him, because he's the one that got invited as the fucking, you know, big celebrity social media person. I thought that was really funny to see that play out in real time. I'm about to head home when I check Clavicular's live stream and see that he is in FIDI at the Club Skino for another New York Fashion Week after party hosted by Los Angeles Apparel, the digital museum welcome.jpg. He's somehow embedded himself in a very different yet equally eclectic art milieu inside the building that contains a music interview, ML, a comedian trickster William Banks, and the sibling electronic duo the Frost Children. There's Clavicular, McDonald's dopamine coursing through his brains. He's eagerly searching for girls to rizz up on for his content, but things turn sour quickly. A woman begins following him, yelling that he's a Nazi and a racist, and urging him to call her, a black woman, the N-word. He turns and says, "Shut the fuck up, bitch." Soon everything erupts into bedlam. By the way, I quite like that interaction. I like the fact that he got called out, because I'm not a fan of the hat. I think the hat's a little bit too much, you know, going around wearing a nigger hat. Him saying it in rap songs, don't really have a problem with it. Again, be racist and I have an issue with you, but you trolling and trying to be edgy, I don't really give a fuck. But I do like that somebody that did get offended by that shit saw him in real life and said something, because people don't usually say anything. So I did like the black girl that did say something in the fucking party, and she was going fucking crazy, and it descended into a fight. And I love the guy that was recording. I think that might be the William Banks person, because he recorded it really well, and he kind of panned back to him, and then the beat dropped. Really well done. My car pulls up just as Clavicular Sprinter pulls away. I catch a painting of Atticus Torre outside. The designer tells me that a brawl began inside Skino when Torre's friend Jack and Clavicular's friend Drago started shoving each other, which spiraled into a full-blown fight. In a video posted by William Banks, caption Clavicular attacked an NYC club. Clavicular and Torre can be seen grappling while Joe tries to restrain Torre from behind, and loud dance music bangs. A security guard grabs Clavicular from behind and lifts him up away from the fray, and then the song reaches a crescendo. Banks flips the camera to his own grinning face, and as he pogos and fist pumps, just another New Yorker caught up in Clavicular's vortex. Yeah, by the way, that's a really good video. I want to see it. They've got a link. Yeah, there's a link. That's one of the best videos to come out of it. I'm not gonna lie. This is such a good video. Really well done. Let's go. Such a good video. Honestly, big up William Banks. That was so good. That was so good. The timing of him flipping the camera to himself on a beat drop. Honestly, he killed it. He killed it. Oh, to be fair, I love those videos anyway. When there's a lot of violence going on, a lot of chaos on one side, and some person just like takes a piss out of it. It's just that kind of contrast is really funny. As pissed off as I am right now, I feel so happy knowing that it happened, says Torre. If I had just stood there and the rest of this night and had this hatred in my heart for him, not doing anything about it, I would have felt like a biggest pussy in the world. So yeah, big up. The field trip leader, Clavicular's Manhattan debut as a new publicist, Mitchell Jackson, represents a scatter spray condemnation of the kooky from Candace Owens to No Jumper host No M22. Leonard Velez black Clavicular for the show through Jackson's company, and Jackson is likely the reason why popular Daily Wire host Brett Cooper, also a client, attended the event. Throughout the time we're together, Jackson behaved less like a publicist than a handler for the unaccompanied minor. By the way, big up that guy Jackson. He's killing it. He's done a good job since he got on board. I think he's kind of sharpened up, tightened up the regime around him. He's done a good job, and he was doing good as well of making sure Clavicular avoided talking to outlets that are gonna paint him out to be a bad guy, which they've done here, to be honest. He even referred to Clavicular as his son at one point. When the couple of people when the camera snuck into the fashion show to gather footage for the Hulu documentary about Clavicular, Jackson barked at them and get them ejected. They're making a Hulu documentary about him. Fucking hell. If it was Netflix, that'd be one thing, Clavicular reasons. No one gives a fuck about Hulu. During my sit-down interview with Clavicular and the Sprinter, Jackson kept trying to look over my shoulder at the questions on my laptop. Jackson told me I couldn't conduct my interview off stream, but he manages to get Clavicular not to record while taping an episode of client Adam Friedland's YouTube talk show after Clavicula's runway debut. Before the show, Friedland and I compare notes. It's sad, right? He says. I mentioned Clavicula's knowledge of peptides, and Friedland jokes that he's like a drug addict who read a lot of Erowid. Soon Clavicular arrives after a morning of bagels with his parents in New Jersey. He later says that he barely slept last night. I was just watching edits on TikTok. You know what's really funny? I'd never considered this is gonna sound really gay and suspect, but I never considered Adam Friedland ugly. I'd never really considered his looks. I just like the show, right? I like the show. He's a funny guy. He's a Cumtown alumni, Cumtown fucking, former Cumtown host. Love him. But wasn't it interesting how ugly Adam Friedland looks sitting next to fucking Clavicular? It just, you know what I mean? It just like he actually, that's the unfortunate, you know what I mean? It's just an observation. I know it sounds fucking insane, but it was kind of glaring to me just how ugly Adam Friedland looked sitting next to Clavicular. Kind of gay, but it is what it is. Let's scroll down. In his interview with Friedland, Clavicular seems uncomfortable at first, shifting in his seat, biting his lip and puffing his nostrils when Friedland says something cringe. He doesn't seem to be able to read his interlocutor's rise cues, but he slowly warms up. He reveals that he has never heard of Nirvana or Zora Mamdani. I'm so far... Honestly, it's so funny. Man just cares about looks maxing. That probably goes to show you just how much dedication and focus is needed to be successful, isn't it? He truly has no other interest outside of streaming and looks maxing. You know? And you could say looks maxing and streaming are one thing because, he's probably looks maxing to look better on stream look better if looks maxing, you know what I mean? But he has no interest outside of that, Even music, he doesn't seem like he's super into. It's interesting. I'm so far removed, I couldn't give a fuck, man. He talks to me about how he needs to produce content has meant live streaming while having sex, only sound, no visuals, and intentionally making himself ejaculate in 1 minute so he can get back to being productive. Yeah, sure, it's intentional. After recording, we hop in a Sprinter and hit the Raising Cane's, and he loves Raising Cane's, where a gaggle of teens scramble to get photos while shouting his name. Back in the van, Clavicular tells me that he would never live here in his entire life. I'd rather do anything but live here. He fielded some business calls, one about casino sponsorship and another one someone who might pay him $200,000 to wear a cortisol bracelet during a future subathon. That's brilliant, by the way. Clavicular and Jackson confer about the press that last night's chaos stirred up. Paychex wrote a bitchy thing about what happened at the club, but all I care about is that you're in page 6. Someone wrote a piece saying that I'm stupid and to understand what was going on last night, said Clavicular. Oh, it's George Day. It's garbage day. It was Ryan Broderick. He doesn't matter, said Jackson. I think that's a good though. It's funny. More good pictures of him in the back there. Taking some free bottle of water. I lob handful of questions to Clavicular. He answers are clipped but not intentionally cold. He seems to need certain types of questions to pry him open. He tells me that it was nice seeing his parents this week, that it was his first time seeing them in ages. They're an unseen presence in Clavicular streams, appearing sporadically in the form of texts and phone calls to chastise him for doing drugs or looking to fall. While they attempt to take away his testosterone and hammers in the team, they're adjusted to his lifestyle now. They're happy for the most part and they get it, but they still get pissed when I get sent to jail or if they're headlines. I was calling my dad at 3 a.m. or whatever from jail. No parent's going to be happy to hear that. This week, a little discourse bomb exploded among esoteric new gen conservatives who were arguing whether Clavicular, Velez, or the Remilio Group have received funding from Peter Thiel, the right-wing billionaire with ties to the downtown New York scene. I asked Clavicular if he's funded by Peter Thiel. He says no. He states internet users were saying that because I got my charges dropped, they were like, there's no way. There has to be some sort of shadow organization funding him. The boring truth is that he's not funded by Peter Thiel or Illuminati. But in roundabout way by gamblers. He gets $133,000 a month from Kick, which is backed by, yeah, that's brilliant, man. So congratulations on the subs. I can't wait to reach that level one day. I can't wait to reach that level one day. I can't wait to reach that level one day. I swear to God. I swear to God. But I think a lot of the Peter Thiel discourse comes because he's got that one donator called P. He's got that one donator called P, who's the highest sub donator in his highest sub donator in his chat. And I think he also gifted Clavicular like the Sprinter. So he subs and he also just sends donos. He gifted him like 150 grand to buy a Sprinter. Crazy, isn't it? So I think that guy, his name is P. So people just put two and two, you know, one together, whatever. But I don't think there's any proof of it. Anyway, big up on 10 toes. Big up on 10 toes. He probably feps to his own reflection. Brief apocalypse, very true. I believe that. On 10 toes. AZ, you're mad at the racist soccer player, but Clavicular is valid. You're cap hard for this white boy. What the player did to Vinicius Jr. is completely different to what Clavicular is. Has Clavicular ever called a black person the N-word in a derogatory term? I don't think he has. Or anything along that. He's rapped some song lyrics. He says like I'm the hardest N-word sometimes. And he's worn the N hat. The one I hated the most was the N hat. I'm not a fan of the N-word hat. Walking around that, I'm not a fan of that hat whatsoever. He hasn't worn it since, by the way, especially out in public. He hasn't worn it since because that one time in Miami he got pressed. But I don't mind him. I don't really mind it. Honestly, I don't really mind him at all. I don't really fucking mind him whatsoever. I think you guys are going a bit OTT. You cannot like the look smashing thing, but I think the being racist thing is not true. I don't really think it's racist because he says the N-word in rap songs. You're racist if you say racist things to people. You're not racist if you rap song lyrics. I'm sorry. Like, that's not gonna be, I'm not gonna paint you racist because you say the N-word in a rap song. I'm not gonna go that way. When you do something racist, you're racist. Simple as that. That player that called Vinicius Jr. a monkey, like, there's no way that's not racist. Like, that's a racist comment. Look, I'm sorry. If he doesn't racist, I'll call him out to be racist. Until then, I'm gonna enjoy the content. But big up on 10 toes, appreciate you. Big up bronze arms as well, who says I'm kind of obsessed with Clavicular. Yes, I am. So that's why I'm reading the whole entire article. Big up Fashion Roadman as well on Stream Chat. Wagwan Fashion Roadman just hopped in. The bonnet was a jump scare. Bro, you don't get to jump in. You don't get to jump in late and then add ha ha at the end of a jump scare comment. And especially when I'm talking about look smack thing, and I'm not gonna take it the back. You know what I mean? Like, so man's calling me clap, man calling me chopped. He's calling me chopped and clapped in the head bonnet. I appreciate it. Thank you, Fashion Roadman, for jumping in late. And then when I'm talking about look smacking, saying to me, I'm a jump scare. Ha ha. Brilliant. Hope you're good. Yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Big up Fashion Roadman. Hope you're good, man. I hope you're enjoying London Fashion Week, my friend. Big up Booth Apocalypse, not yet at least. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I guess the audience does not like Clavicular. Fair enough. I asked for his favorite album ever. That's a good question, man. I just like individual songs. I think the albums are shit concept. Yeah, I don't get people like this. I don't get people like this. I don't like music because now like every song on the album is retarded. Big up. I forgot. Wish I remember this girl. Wish I remember this girl's name. Was it Sophie? Was it Grace? I forgot who this girl's name was. Big up this girl. Whoever you are, you know who you are. I used to work with her at Depop, and she blew my mind. That was the first time I ever saw someone else in my life like this, right? This girl one time, like we used to work in Depop. I used to work in Depop, right? There'd be like these rows of us with customer service reps or customer service support people, and we'd be sitting in these like horizontal rows, like with our computers kind of, you know, one row computer and then the other side is computers too, right? But there's no thing covering, so you can just see everyone's faces. Kind of annoying, but that's just the way the office was. So one day I remember working and I just happened to glance across and I noticed a particular girl that was working in my team just staring at the screen, just sitting there staring. And I was like, what the fuck's going on there? And I kept looking at her, she kept doing it. So I whispered to her, I was like, are you alright? She's like, yeah. I'm just finished. And I think it was like, I don't know, it might be like 4:45 or something. So I guess she wrapped up her work, she answered the ticket, she done what she needs to do. She was just sitting looking at the computer. I was like, what, you know, listen to music? You know, listen to music. You don't got like a podcast playing in the background or watching a video. No, I'm not really into music like that. I was like, you're not into music like that? Yeah, I don't really like listen to it. Like she was like, yeah, I might go to a bar and hear it, cool, but I don't really like listen to music in my free time. I was like, God Almighty. And that's the first time I ever encountered. But ever since I've heard that from that girl, I remember hearing it from multiple people say same sort of thing. Like they might listen to music in the gym, but they don't actively try and listen to new albums. They don't like to go to live shows. They don't really care about watching music videos. They don't give a shit about music, basically. And it's the same sort of thing Clavicular was saying. Like, yeah, I like individual songs, but I don't care about albums. So those type of people can't name a favorite album. They don't have a favorite artist. They just like certain songs. Or they don't listen to music at all. I just find that... could you imagine, like... I can't imagine a more hellish experience than being in a gym and not having my headphones. I also can't imagine a more hellish experience than working in an office and not being able to have at least even one headphone in. I know some offices are a bit weird about music and stuff, but they usually let you have one earphone in. At least have the other one free so you can hear people saying something to you. But just sitting there in an office and just staring at the computer. Like... I asked him for his mile time. Running is so ridiculous to me because I can never think of a scenario where I'll be required to run. Yo, I love this, right? I love this, like, autistic side of Clavicular. I think recently he did this with a guy called Larry Wills. He's got this thing about, maybe it's a TISM thing, maybe it's a looks thing. He's got a thing about everything has to be a ROI, so return on investment. He was talking to Larry Wills. Larry Wills was kind of bragging about how big he is and how strong he is. And basically, Vickers said super deadpan. Yeah, there's no real ROI in getting big and strong. Like what useful thing can you do with a 1 rep max? I was like, you know what? That's true. That's actually kind of true. There is nothing really to be outside of your own vanity, and maybe whatever. There's not really a lot that can kind of, and obviously maybe look in a certain way. Maybe if you want to look physically intimidating. Maybe if you think in your head girls want you to look that way and it makes you more attractive, but there's not a lot you can really get out of. And I think he said like the cons outweigh the pros in terms of like tearing your muscle ligaments and other things and shit. And we've seen how those legendary bodybuilders, right, how most of them look really bad in their older age because of all the strain they put their muscles and their bones in. I think that's hilarious. So I think he's saying the same thing here, where running is like there's no utility in running. Why would I need to run? But we also live in a peptides world, right? Because running essentially was one of the best forms of cardio, and one of the easiest ways to lose a lot of weight, right? You stop eating, you run a lot, you get skinny. But nowadays in the world of, in a post Manjaro or Ozempic world, right? In a post peptide world, people are not going to want to run. They're not going to want to go on elliptical, not want to go cycle, because you can basically get skinny by not just injecting yourself with a fucking needle, So yeah, but this is a horrible take. I hate both of these takes, by the way. These are two horrible takes. I fundamentally disagree that albums are a shit concept, and I fundamentally disagree that running is ridiculous. Running is not ridiculous. Running is definitely helpful. Like, I would much rather be athletic and look coordinated and be able to run a fast mile than look chiseled, than have a objectively beautiful face. I'd have much more pride in myself if I had like a 6-minute mile, or I ran a fucking 5K in under fucking 20 minutes, right? Or I ran a marathon in under 2:30 or something, than I would if I had if I looked a certain way. Like, fuck with that shit. Like, what? This is a horrible take. Running is so ridiculous to me, but because I can never think of a scenario where I'll be required to run. That doesn't seem like something we'd have to do since prehistoric times. Running, ridiculous. I can't even fathom that. What if somebody chased you with a gun? The gun shoots projectiles. You're not outrunning a bullet. What about a knife? Huh? A knife? Well, yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't bring a knife to a gunfight. Fair enough answers, man. Fair enough answers. I think this is a kind of a hard picture, man. Objectively, this is a hard picture. Objectively, this really good grainy picture of him in film wearing a fucking Moncler, carrying the bags of fucking McDonald's that he ordered for everybody, is a pretty fucking hard picture. Let's not lie. That's a pretty hard picture. Flanked by 2 black men, security guards, right? Can't be racist if you got black security guards, right? Can't be racist if you got big black security guards. He explains the economy of clippers, anonymous users who spam bite-sized clips of Clavicular on multiple platforms. Kick supposedly pays people to clip streamers' content. Clavicular told me that clippers get $30 for every 1,000 views they rack up. That's a whopping 950 clippers. The most of the streamer functions as both as workers who boost their content and parasites who flip this humiliation into a personal profit. The clips madness has gotten to a point where whenever Clavicular opens his timeline, all he sees is a mirror of his life he has just lived. A never-ending reel of peak Clev clips playing on loop. He likes that because I get to see how shots went. Sorry. I look through the comments and see the reactions. It helps me to get some feedback on my content. Yeah, that's how it should be, man. I like we're living in a world where some people are admitting, you know, that they read the comments. That world we're living in where Joe Rogan was making everyone believe that comments were evil and you shouldn't read comments. This is stupid. Like, that's your feedback. That's your audience. Like, you should be listening and viewing or reading what your audience is talking about. Like, I've never understood the don't read comment stuff. It's ridiculous. I contemplate breaking the fourth wall and commandeering the stream with a stump speech on the indignities of his lifestyle. It's bleak, fun race to the bottom, but realize it would probably just make the viewers in the chat spam Jew reporter and blue hair queer even more than they are already. Instead, I tell Clavicular to listen to the Xavier So base negative can hold tilt and urge him to read Marcel Proust, maybe in the hopes that it would nourish his soul. I don't know, man. I want to live in a world where if people are just worried about their own vanity and are very shallow and materialistic, that they can do so very proudly. I'm fed up with everybody telling everyone how to live. There's that one lady, right? Isn't there this one Chinese lady that's going viral that allegedly makes a lot of money? She's like I don't know if she's got the money, she's not, but there's this Chinese lady who's going very viral on social media now and shows off all her designer clothes, right? Like, I bought this, and people are like, oh, it's so tasteless, everyone's poor, bro. Well, she's not, and she wants to show it off. Let her show it off. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Like, people get so triggered about and it's nonsense too, because she gets loads of views, so clearly people like that content. If you want, like, if there's somebody out there listening to Xavier So bass song while reading Marcel Proust and they've got as many followers as Clavicle, they'll be like, show me them. They don't exist. People like to say this sort of stuff like, oh, you don't want to see that. That's not entertaining. If you want to do that yourself, fair enough. But like, I really despise everybody who's trying to, like, I get it. Maybe for everybody else, this sort of lifestyle isn't the greatest, right? You got, like I said, I wish Lux Maxim would have like an end goal, right, in mind. Now, from what I can see, there is none. The end goal is just to fuck as many girls as possible, which, you know, most guys know, if you've ever been down that route, that's not the most fulfilling thing. You know, it kind of seems it, especially if you're in a relationship or whatever, but really and truly, it's not that great. It's not as great as people make it seem as. But you obviously got to do it to know. But I would love if there was actually an end goal of like, okay, cool, I want to have kids, I want to get married, I want to do this, I want to do that. It just seems like all of it is kind of based upon how many girls you can kind of get in your bed and shit, which I think is a bit lame. But if that's what they want to do, let them do it. Let them fucking do it. Like, I don't understand the issue here. I don't get the issue here. It's just unnecessary pearl clutching. Like, it's the kind of thing our parents would have done. That's the thing. Like, we're all turning into our parents. It's the kind of thing our parents would have done. Like, slightly alternative lifestyle, slightly different view of the world, a little bit counterculture, and also then was like, like, shut up. Prost wrote a book about really good looking guy that was just about, it was kind of like your streams, in the sense where the book is just his day-to-day life, Jackson translates. Okay, yeah, absolutely, sounds good. Clavicular responds, then turns his phone and says to the chat, this is like Lux Max, this is like a book smacking jester. Reducing somebody to a book. By the way, I think jester is one of the most insulting and one of the most funniest phrase I've ever heard. Because jester essentially is what it seems like. It kind of plays upon that meme that everyone shares where the jester is like kind of performing in front of the queen, right? I think it's from a game or something. And essentially what it is, which is really funny in the Lux Maxim world, from what I can understand, especially when it comes to girls, they say guys who are like charismatic, charming, or who have like, you know, funny personalities and stuff, gets good sense of humor, is the kind of guy that can kind of laugh his way into a girl's pants. They say that's jester, which is really funny and ironic because most Lux Maxing guys have shit game. Like, I watch a lot of Clavicular streams. I watch that Andronic guy. There's another dude as well on Kick that does Lux Maxing, and there's also goes out and they have terrible game. All they do is just stand and look at girl. Like they basically say, "Look at my face." Like essentially, they don't have any game. Like they say the most off kilter shit. You know what I mean? They don't make the interactions fun for the girl. Let's say, right? It's more so about them. They don't try and make them have fun too. They want to just make sure that they get their rocks off. So I do find it funny how they call the guy who has bars, who's able to be charming, who's able to listen, who's able to be, you know what I mean, nice to girls. They call that jester, and like they look down on it. But if you know, mog, I guess, and frame max, so you just can just stand there, that you're somehow of a higher level. You know what I mean? Like that game is more accepting. It's like come on, man. Really? Okay. Anyway, it's cold and dark in Washington Square Park. Clavicular stumbles over an older fellow earnestly offering philosophical advice. Someone who identifies as a witch, both of whom he ridicules. Within minutes, the park dissolves into a war zone. The cluster of 20 white boys from NYU swarming him for a photo on one side, along with random jostling to get on the stream and heckle him with "ha ha, you're being framed" mo jokes. On the other side of the fountain, a group of artsy looking people who aren't white tell him to kill himself and fuck off. I love that, by the way. Like I said, I love it because he has put some content out there that's a bit, you know. So I do love it. In real life, he does get those responses. It's good. We need that. A lot of people, you know, suck dick when they see people in real life celebrities. So I like that. In his mission to transcend jesterhood, Clavicular has made himself into an ultimate fool, a toy for the world to play with. But the last laugh always gets to the jester, even if he's laughing to himself or the algorithmic insane asylum, the runway debut, the after parties, the fight, the scorn, the selfies. He seemed very pleased with how his trip went. The clip firestorm is generated. The way Clavicular Celebrity works, everything helps his unkillable viral machine. Everything helps his unkillable viral machine. The only way for him to lose it is if he loses the world's attention. This Juki piece just another notch on the bedpost. Yeah. Again, this person was being a little bit cunty in the fucking article. I'm not gonna lie. This person was being a little bit of a cunt in the article, but I think it's great pictures. Ultimately, a good profile too, because I think sometimes when someone doesn't like you and they write an article, they usually try and like dissect you more, try and describe why they really don't like you in big words, and you know, and try and frame it a certain way. So it does do a good job of like, you know, kind of like profiling him and digging a bit deeper, or scratching a bit beneath the surface. But ultimately, good piece. Another piece out there in terms of promo. I enjoyed that for what it was worth. Big up GQ, big up Clavicular. I'll put the link, obviously, if you want to read it and see it for yourself. There'll be a link in the stream chat for those of you that care, and there'll be a link in the description too for those of you that do care for that sort of thing. You can enjoy. You can freaking bloody enjoy. Cool. Let's move on.